Happy New Year. It's going great. How are you?
Happy New Year. It is going well. I'm doing well. I just wanted to pop in here. I know it is New Year and we've got about 15 minutes of recording here. So I just wanted to give everybody a message this morning about, turning over a new leaf. We were talking the other day and we were thinking what kind of topic can we start out the new year with? I really liked your post. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was yesterday or it was about joy and delight.
Yeah.
I really liked that, as far as like setting an intention to just be more joyful and finding more delight in the small little moments. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. The delight is things that just happen to you. So, for example, in the post I used on LinkedIn, when I was out for a walk, I heard the familiar sound of hawks. And I looked up, and there's one hawk sitting on the top of a telephone pole, and there's another hawk swirling around in the sky. Apparently, they're calling each other. And it
Mm,
was just such a delight. It's like
mm.
a sudden thing that
You
it's
get to
external.
witness.
It's external. And so every day when I go on a walk, I live in the woods, and
Uh-huh.
so you never know what you're going to see. Interesting animals. Um, I can find delight in the little things. The noticing that some of the plants are budding out and seeing that sweet new growth, but it's also a little concerning because it's January 1st and
Oh
the
yeah.
plants are headed for a freeze. And so it's a little too
Yeah.
early for them, but they don't know it.
They don't know it
Anyway,
yet.
but the joy is different. Joy comes from inside of you.
Mm,
It's a feeling of goodness that comes from inside of you. And so you might find joy in your work. You might find, wow, it really feels good to be building a product that will
mm,
help make the world a better place,
mm.
help people do their jobs better or more efficiently or more accurately. What if you're building a medical tool that can help doctors diagnose your symptoms more accurately or faster?
Yeah.
Whatever it is. And it can make you feel the joy of contributing something and being a part of that, or sitting around with a big happy family that can give you joy. There's all kinds of things that can be a source of joy, but they well up from inside of you,
Yeah.
whereas the delights are, well, this morning I woke up to, I have a east facing window that looks out over the hills, and I could see over the hills, I could see the sunrise starting, and that was a delight. Oh, and I called my husband, look at the beautiful,
You just
beautiful.
share your delight
Yeah.
and bring joy then to him. It's a new thing.
Yeah.
What I love about this is there's a there's a positive feedback loop that's
Yeah.
happening, right? The
Yeah.
external and the internal are actually they're feeding each other, right? Because you can have an internal joy, you can witness something external, and now it's going to cause you to actually seek out and look for more positive
Yeah. Yeah.
external things, and then even bring in your nociception, right, or proprioception, how we sense the outside world and our connection to it. um, Nociceptors are our internal receptors,
Hmm.
and how we can, so we get this positive feedback loop when we
Hmm.
start to notice our delights and then internalize and feel the joys.
Yeah.
I
That's
really like that.
a great feeling. And so to start out 2025,
Yeah.
there's some things that are difficult in the world. There's a lot of things that are difficult, but
Yeah.
find some things to be delighted about.
and
find some,
create that positive feedback loop.
yes.
I think
Yeah.
it's easy to get into a negative feedback loop as well.
Oh, sure.
So we can doom scroll, right? We're going to doom
Right.
scroll, doom scroll, doom scroll. And then we're going to set down our phone and go, oh my gosh, like now, my animals are annoying me and my kids and my partner. And then you get in this negative feedback loop of external and internal. And it's very easy to do, but if we start noticing these things, we can actually generate more of a positive result and a positive feedback loop between our responses and our reactions internally and to external
Yeah.
forces as well. Yeah, I
Yeah,
really
you're
like
right about the negative stuff.
that. It's
I
contagious. Attitudes
Yeah,
are contagious.
yeah. And I was swimming in Barton Springs, which is a natural spring in Austin, and it has some walled sides with tile and cement, but the floor is a natural floor, and a spring comes up from the ground. I was in a bad mood one day,
Yeah,
and usually swimming that puts me in a good mood, but just hearing the noise of the water lapping
yeah.
onto the tile, and
How
it's
dare the
so
water?
noisy.
It's just too much. Yeah, yeah.
And I'm thinking, okay, something's definitely wrong that I'm feeling like that. Anyway, so there's positives, and then there's ways of noticing what you're doing. And if you notice that you're in a
Yeah,
negative loop, notice it.
right.
Try to help yourself get out of it.
Or if you don't notice it, the result then is, of course, you're ignoring it, you're dismissing it, you're suppressing it. It starts to build up. And if you don't deal with your stuff is going to deal with you, right? And before you know it, there's an emotional outburst, there's a
Yeah,
conflict, there's
yeah.
something where you've decided to, engage in that negative feedback loop. So looking at things that are going to be more positive, looking at things that if we really want to, you know start new beginnings, turn over a new leaf. I mean, some of us, we need to turn over a whole forest. That's but you want to turn over a new leaf and start. It's just the willingness to, you know shift your mood and shift your sometimes you don't even have to know how, you just have to be willing, is what
Yeah.
I teach people. And if you can trust that process, and you can trust yourself, you could trust your own emotions to lead you and navigate through that, then you're going to respond in a responsible way instead of just reacting to every, oh gosh, they're annoying me, they're, we were this summer we were at the water park, and I was in a mood and here we are with our family, right? Our kid. It's a beautiful sunny day. Everybody's playing. Their children, and I'm just, oh, they're too splashy in the splash pad, and it's like, what's the splash pad? What are we talking
Uh,
about?
the
You
sun
have to
is
be,
too sunny.
you have to be willing to go. Wait a minute. What's the common denominator here, and how can I give myself grace through those? Because sometimes my reaction might be to hold my position. Now
Hmm.
I'm grumpy. I've identified it. Yeah, I'm grumpy, but it's everybody else's fault. I'm staying on my position. But
Yeah.
if you can be willing to change that behavior, and then give yourself the grace that maybe, my family is where I learn so much of my growth and personal development. My family, my close friends, my tribe, because through them and through their grace and their forgiveness, I can see myself a little bit better.
Hmm.
um, if I yell at my kids inappropriately, and the crime doesn't really fit the punishment, and I have to go back and go, oh, I'm sorry, mommy overreacted, I'm extra tired today, I had a bad day, I'm sorry, it wasn't okay that I did this. When they go, oh, it's okay, mommy, you need a nap, you know like something so simple, because kids will, they're so sweet and simple. Do you need a nap? And I'll have a nap, and then like, oh, mommy, you feel better, I'm glad you feel better. And through that grace, I can then, treat myself a little more tenderness, and grace and forgiveness.
Yeah, that's so sweet. What a sweet
Yeah.
story.
Yeah, it's helpful. It's helpful to give yourself the grace that, sometimes I would give even to others. I'd give to my friends, I give to
Hmm.
my family, I give to my children if they're having a grumpy day or they're tired or what. But oftentimes we don't do that for ourselves because we expect ourselves to be held at a different standard, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
I
if we
like
can
that.
learn to lean on our own ability, to trust our ability to manage our emotions, build up that emotional resilience, we can trust ourselves to have a more appropriate reaction, give
Hmm.
ourselves the grace moving forward. And that's really those micro moments are how we create emotional resilience. This is how we um, improve our relationships. And I think it's so easy to just cancel somebody, right? It's
Yeah.
easy to just say, okay, no, you're not doing what I want. I cut you out of my life. I'm never going to talk to you again. The
And what about when
emotional
that's a
maturity
relation like a
comes.
sibling or a
Right,
parent?
right.
That can be very, very devastating and hard and tough for the long term.
That's right.
So how
That's
can
right.
people turn that around? You're the
Well,
person who knows.
so much of it, I think, again, is that grace and forgiveness
Hmm.
and knowing that um, if somebody has acknowledged a pattern and they're intent on breaking it up and shifting it,
Hmm.
then I'm going to give them grace the next two, three, four, five times it happens while they're trying to fix it. That's what it
Hmm.
looks like for me, right? In my relationships.
Hmm.
If they don't acknowledge it, or if they aren't interested in changing the pattern, then that's different. That's a
Yeah.
different approach because now we're dealing with somebody who's a jerk who just doesn't want to face their stuff. They don't want to uh, change the behavior. They're on their position. Their ego's
Hmm.
struggling to maintain that position. It's not going to be a very good relationship, right?
Yeah. So another thing about relationships that I want to talk about is a trusting relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't trust the other person in the relationship, it's really difficult to have a good relationship. And
Yeah.
so I want to talk about how people can do things to help build trust if it's been maybe nicked a little bit
Yeah.
or just pushed a little bit so that there's
Yeah.
a little distrust. But before I talk about that, I want to talk about the cost
Mm.
of mistrust. So I'm going to give the example of flying in airports after 9/11,
Mm.
which is now more than 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm about to go fly off to South Carolina today.
Yeah.
And I have to get there in Austin 2.5 hours early.
Yeah. Didn't used to be that way.
It wasn't that way.
No.
That's a cost. That's a cost to me, but I'm not the only one bearing
That's
the
right.
cost. Of course, everybody who's flying is bearing that cost, but it's also a cost to the people who run airports. They had to hire all these TSA agents. They had to hire and bring in all these dogs that could sniff things. And
Yeah.
they had dogs that were sniffing for drugs before, but now they're sniffing for a lot of other things.
Right.
They had to build new infrastructure so that
Yes.
you can only get into the airport through one path and you can't go around it without going through security. They had to buy equipment that screens all these x-ray like machines that screen your luggage and screen you and screen your carry-on.
That's
And
right.
uh, think about the worldwide cost
Yeah.
of those of that
Hundreds of millions of people every year are
hundreds of millions of
affected.
people, billions of dollars.
Yes.
And uh, and that cost is caused by a lack of trust.
Yeah.
Trust that the other passengers are well intentioned, trust that nobody wants to do anybody else harm.
Mm,
Uh, we had a terrible incident in New Orleans yesterday,
mm,
someone running his car through a crowd.
mm.
Well, and a lot of people died. Well, that will cause a mistrust
That's
of
right.
being in public places.
Yes.
And that's a cost. I mean, do you want to live in a society where you're afraid to be in a public place?
Right. Well,
No,
many
that's,
do live in the societies like that. Oops, excuse me.
yeah,
And yeah, around the world.
that's
Yeah.
a big cost. So the cost of mistrust
Mm,
is pretty significant,
mm.
very significant.
I mean,
And
and like
so,
you said, here we are 20 years later, still paying that cost.
yes. And the cost of mistrust is seen in all sorts of, it's not just from 9/11. It's all sorts of things. So the cost of mistrust when you're buying a house, you're making a huge investment. You don't
Yeah.
want to buy a house that maybe the person who is selling it to you didn't have the proper rights to. So you have to hire lawyers, you have to hire
Yep.
people to investigate
Get your
the
homeowner's insurance, all the inspectors.
inspections and the history of the deed and
That's right.
all this all this stuff. That's a lack of trust. The lack of trust
Yes.
is is that deed correct?
Yep.
Is that person have the legal right to sell that house? So it's you know, if you and I were trading, we're living next door to each other, and you wanted to borrow some eggs, I
Uh-huh.
would say, "Oh, here, have some eggs. I've got an
Uh-huh.
extra dozen."
Yeah.
and, and there would be no cost because we trust each other,
Yes.
and uh,
And you know that when you need some sugar, I'm just going to send it on over. So,
right, and
we
it's
we
not
have
like
that. Hmm.
I have to investigate your request
Hmm.
or you have to then have the eggs tested for poison.
Right.
So
But once that cost is all set and paid, then the trust is there, right? I
right,
mean, this happens in contracts in business as well.
it, that's right,
Um,
and it happens between employees and bosses.
that's
If
right.
if you are the leader and you don't trust your employees,
Hmm.
then you're going to be hovering over them, and that causes them to not
Yeah.
trust you. You're
Nobody wants
always
to be
in their
micromanaged.
stuff, and so the cost of trust, the cost of mistrust
Yeah.
is very high. And I'm going to try to develop that more over the next year. But I encourage everyone
Mm.
to think about trust as they move forward in
And the
2025 and
cost
how
to
can
repair it.
they improve trust, reduce costs. Trust goes up, the costs go down, and
Yeah. And
watch how that
so
plays out.
we're doing our workshop. I don't think we have, let's see, maybe we might be in Stockholm, Sweden. We could potentially be at NDC Oslo in
Yeah,
2025. That would be
yep,
fun, teaching our workshop about relationships, communication. We use, of course, real world scenarios from tech
yep,
as engineering leaders and different scenarios that you've come across in your career, and talking about emotional resilience and ways to build up more trust, ways to work more efficiently and improve your own career, because once you get these skills, that's just how you do it. So
yeah,
these are valuable skills for your career, not just in your personal relationships but your professional relationships too.
definitely. Both.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. Wonderful. Well, Leslie, I guess here's to 2025.
Yes, I'll raise my
I,
teacup to that.
yeah, exactly. I raise my coffee as well to you. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
And so I look forward to potentially teaching our workshop more around the world with you. And of course, lots more live streams as well. Oh, and if you haven't been to our website lately, luckyandleslie.com, you can sign up for free. And I added two more of Leslie's safe for work jokes, engineering jokes to our website. So you can go download those if you have a membership. It's at luckyandleslie.com.
Good to see you,
It's very nice to see
Christina.
you too.
We'll talk next week and possibly in between.
Yeah,
Talk soon.
sounds good. Have a great
Bye
day.
bye.
Bye. Okay, I think we can stop there.